So, Anita, you have stated it clearly and established this point that you look at partners and then go for long-term investments. Also, pension funds are known for their annuity kind of returns, and they're more comfortable with those kind of investments as well. Now, telecom tower space has emerged to be one of those best-suited assets for this kind of an investment. You have in the past looked at some of the assets as well in telecom tower space. How are you positioned right now? Are you still spending some time in that sector, because there are some opportunities available still?
Yes, the tower space again comes under our infrastructure asset class, and is something that we've looked at and continue to look at. And I think this is a space that, under the right terms and conditions, we would be interested in investing.
So, in infrastructure then, Anita, how do you view that? I know some of the assets were on sale and Cdpq was spending time there. There is Sadbhav also, which had some of the projects on sale. So how are you looking at infrastructure, and would you be spending a lot of time there?
Yes, infrastructure is a very important asset class for us, and India definitely needs infrastructure investments. We will be very careful and selective in terms of, again, our partnership and the quality of the assets that we would be willing to invest in. And I think most important in all of these is really having the right team. Right. So that's something else also that we are focusing on. And the road sector, airports, all of these hardcore infrastructure sectors are of interest to us. We have, I would say, deep global experience in some of these sectors, and so we would be very interested in partnering with the right partner and building infrastructure assets in India.
So which is your sector which is on top of your mind, Anita, for a next investment?
Well, you know, we are sort of educating ourselves and extremely interested in the IT-enabled space. And that's something that we haven't done much of, but I'm hopeful that over the next year, year and a half, we should also start investing. We are very fortunate to have a partnership with Fundamentum, which is sponsored by Nandan Nilekani and Sanjeev Agarwal. And it's been a great experience to work with these partners who know the technology sector so well, and we are learning a lot, and our hope is that going forward we can actually deploy some capital towards that sector.
All right, so that's an exciting space, and it's developing very fast as well, though there are 2 live transactions going on right now in IT services, mid-cap companies as well. Apart from that, would you also be backing some of the strategics? You're already in the ARC space, in the stressed asset space, with Edelweiss as your partner. Apart from that, there is a lot of requirement of cash by the strategics in India who do not have the bandwidth to go through with a transaction on their own. So TPG had backed UPL. There are many other like Aon backing JSW and Monet Espa. So are you looking at something like this also going forward in stressed, or else in big acquisitions for the strategics?
I would say that it would have to be, one of our challenges, since we have 310 billion assets under management, we need to find investments of a certain critical size. And that being the case, our preference is to work through our partners, because that way we can reach across to several mid-cap companies who on our own would be too small for us to manage. So I would say our strategy would remain mainly working through existing partners, and we have several in the financial services sector as well. But if we come across the right potential partner which on a standalone basis has the ability to invest and deploy capital, then that is something that we could consider as well.
Anita, you spoke many times about the eligible partner. What are the eligibility criteria, the top 3 attributes that you find in a partner to bet your money?
I think the topmost would be integrity, reputation, and corporate governance. The second would be deep domain knowledge and a track record in the field that they are in. And the third, I would say, is the team. Because in a lot of the investments that we make, it's the people who make the difference.
All right, I'm sure many of the aspirants of your funds would be hearing this. But last question to you, Anita. You are heading the global emerging markets for Cdpq.
Yes.
How is India positioned compared to the other emerging markets? What differentiates India? And when you look at the overall basket, how do you put India in the pecking order?
So as I mentioned at the start, India is one of our 5 priority countries. We have China, Brazil, Mexico, Colombia, and India. We also make investments in other countries, but typically with a long-term partner who we already know very well and who has deep experience in those other countries. But in terms of proactive and direct investments, it's in these 5 countries. And I would say India fares very well. In a partnership approach, India offers us several very good partners who meet the criteria that I spoke about. And so I would say that is one critical aspect. The second is really the fundamentals of the economy. And that, again, in India, really appeals to us in terms of democracy, demographics, the digitization that's happening, the entrepreneurial drive that exists in India, the ability to take advantage of the growth that the Indian economy is poised to further growth. And having a long growth runway, that's also very important, because as a long-term investor, you really want to see that long-term potential and opportunity. We also are very positive as we have invested quite a bit in these other markets that I mentioned as well. Yes. But definitely India stands out.
All right. Thanks so much, Anita, for talking to us about your strategy and the way forward for Cdpq in India. Thanks so much for joining us. So that was after the investment of about $250 million that they have committed for Edelweiss Financial Services. A few important takeaways coming out of the conversation with Cdpq is that in the areas which are new, they would be looking at IT-enabled services. They are studying that sector for investments in future. Renewables and financial services are 2 important areas they are looking at more investments in. And another new asset class that Cdpq could bring into India could be in the fixed income side. With that, it's a wrap on Big Deal. Thanks so much for joining us.